"We probably ought to leave that alone," Erno said. Durden handed Erno the flashlight, took a pry bar from his belt, and shoved it into the edge of the door. The door resisted, then with a grating squeak jerked open a couple of centimeters. Erno jumped at the sound. "Help me here, Erno," Durden said. Erno got his fingers around the door's edge, and the two of them braced themselves. Durden put his feet on the wall and used his legs and back to get leverage. When the door suddenly shot open, Erno fell back and whacked his head. Durden lost his grip, shot sidewise out of the alcove, bounced once, and skidded across the dusty floor. While Erno shook his head to clear his vision, Durden sat spread-legged, laughing. "Bingo," he said. He bounced up. "You okay, Erno?" Erno felt the back of his skull. He wasn't bleeding. "I'm fine," he said. "Let's see what we've got, then." Beyond the door, a dark corridor cut through the basalt. Durden stepped into the path marked by his light. Erno wanted to go back to the club. By now, things must have died down, but instead he followed. Shortly past the door, the corridor turned into a cramped lava tube. Early settlers had leveled the floor of the erratic tube, formed by the draining away of cooling lava billions of years ago. Between walls that had been erected to form rooms ran a path of red volcanic gravel, much like tailings from the oxygen factory. Foamy, irregular pebbles, kicked up by their shoes, rattled off the walls. Dead light fixtures broke the ceiling at intervals. Tyler stopped to shine his light into a couple of the doorways, and at the third, he went inside. "This must be from the start of the colony," Erno said. "I wonder why it's been abandoned." "Kind of claustrophobic." Durden shone the light around the small room. The light fell on a small rectangular object in the corner. From his belt, Durden pulled another tool, which he extended into a probe. "Do you always carry this equipment?" Erno asked. "Be prepared," Durden said. He set down the light and crouched over the object. It looked like a small box, a few centimeters thick. "You ever hear of the Boy Scouts, Erno?" "Some early lunar colony?" "Nope. Sort of like the men's house, only different." Durden forced the probe under an edge, and one side lifted as if to come off. "Well, well." He put down the probe, picked up the object, held it end on, put his thumbs against the long side, and opened it. It divided neatly into flat sheets attached at the other long side. "What is it?" Erno asked. "It's a book." "Is it still working?" "This is an unpowered book. The words are printed right on these leaves. They're made of paper." Erno had seen such old-fashioned books in vids. "It must be very old. What is it?" Durden carefully turned the pages. "It's a book of stories." Durden stood up and handed the book to Erno. "Here, you keep it. Let me know what it's about." Erno tried to make out the writing, but without Tyler's flashlight it was too dim. Durden folded up his probe and hung it on his belt. He ran his hand over his head, smearing a line of dust over his scalp. "Are you cold? I suppose we ought to find our way out of here." Immediately, he headed out of the room and back down the corridor. Erno felt he was getting left behind in more ways than one. Clutching the book, he followed after Durden and his bobbing light. Rather than heading back to Oxygen Warehouse, the comedian continued down the lava tube. Eventually, the tube ended in another old pressure door. When Durden touched the key panel at its side, amazingly, it lit. "What do you think?" Durden said. "We should go back," Erno said. "We can't know whether the locked door on the other side is still airtight. The fail-safes could be broken. We could open the door onto vacuum." He held the book under his armpit and blew on his cold hands. How old are you, Erno? 17. 17? Durden's eyes glinted in shadowed eye sockets. 17 is no age to be cautious. Erno couldn't help but grin. You're right. Let's open it. My man, Erno. Durden slapped him on the shoulder. He keyed the door open. They heard the whine of a long unused electric motor. Erno could feel his heart beat, the blood running swiftly in his veins. At first, nothing happened. Then the door began to slide open. There was a chuff of air escaping from the lava tube, and dust kicked up. But the wind stopped as soon as it started, and the door opened completely on the old airlock, filled floor to ceiling with crates and bundles of fiberglass building struts. It took them half an hour to shift boxes and burrow their way through the airlock, to emerge at the other end into another warehouse, this one still in use. They crept by racks of construction materials until they reached the entrance and sneaked out into the colony corridor beyond. They were at the far end of North 6, the giant lava tube that served the industrial wing of the colony. The few workers they encountered on the late shift might have noticed Erno's suit, but said nothing. Erno and Tyler made their way back home. Tyler cracked jokes about the constables until they emerged into the vast open space of the domed crater that formed the center of the colony. Above, on the huge dome, was projected a night star field. In the distance, down the rim wall slopes covered with junipers, across crater floor, lights glinted among the trees in Sobieski Park. Erno took a huge breath of air fragrant with pinon. The world our ancestors gave us, Tyler said, waving his arm as if offering it to Erno. As Tyler turned to leave, Erno called out impulsively that was an adventure. The first of many, Erno, Tyler said, and jogged away. Celibacy Day. On Celibacy Day, everyone gets a day off from sex. Some protest this practice, but they are relatively few. Most men take it as an opportunity to retreat to the informal men's houses that, though they have no statutory sanction, sprang up in the first generation of settlers. In the men's house, men and boys talk about what it is to be a man, a lover of other men and women, a father in a world where fatherhood is no more than a biological concept. They complain about their lot. They tell vile jokes and sing songs, they wrestle, they gossip. Heteros and queers and everyone in between compare speculations on what they think women really want and whether it matters. They try to figure out what a true man is. As a boy, Erno would go to the men's house with his mother's current partner or one of the other men involved in the household. Some of the men taught him things. He learned about masturbation and cross-checks and micro-language theory. But no matter how welcoming the men were supposed to be to each other, and they talked about brotherhood all the time, there was always that little edge when you met another boy there, or that necessary wariness when you talked to an adult. Men came to the men's house to spend time together and remind themselves of certain congruencies, but only a crazy person would want to live solely in the company of men.